first day of summer. Let me tell you, when you're a Canuck working a busy part-time job and trying to balance doing a YouTube channel, you tend to get burnt out quick. So it's always a nice occasion to join family, friends, or loved ones for a nice little trip away from home for a little while, and escape the many things that are currently troubling us. So I figured while you guys are waiting for a few big videos to come out, I'd do a funny little video about that funny little sponge everyone's made a lot of videos about. You don't need an introduction for Spongebob, everyone's talked about him, everyone's made videos about him, but man, I miss when his specials used to be special. And when I say that, I don't mean the quality. They've always been a bit hit and miss, although the new specials, from what I've heard, have been pretty good. I'm talking like back when these were like summer blockbusters for kids' TV. Like, there was no escape from these in the early 2000s. Commercials, billboards, contests, sweepstakes, lead-in marathons, primetime airings, Burger King kids' meals, it was everywhere. While SpongeBob is and always will be big, these were kind of like a time capsule for the 2000s. That wacky, over-commercialized time where pretty much anything could go. And then TV died, and literally no one cares if your episode is slightly longer. That ain't gonna sell McDonald's kids meals. I've talked about in the past how these specials kind of went down on my old blog, and I've actually considered quite a few specials for the series, but there's one I've wanted to talk about for the longest time, and, well, no other way to start off the 5th anniversary than doing that, huh? SpongeBob vs. the Big One, a special released in 2009 from season 6 that was the kickoff for the 10th anniversary, surprisingly. So yes, this was the same year that movie came out. And now the memories of all that false advertising come flooding back to you. It's pretty weird to think about. Like, most of these specials are generally well remembered in spite of how oversaturated they got in the 2000s. Like, I remember the one with David Bowie. I remember the TV movie that was really just a half-hour special with live-action padding. But no one seems to remember the Johnny Depp surfing special. I mean, especially now, it's probably not so great to bring it up, but, well, we'll figure this out as we actually talk about the special. It's a hot time down in Bikini Bottom. Oh, wait, no, that sounds terrible. No, forget it. And thanks to it, there's no business at the Krusty Krab because everyone's out enjoying the beach. So Mr. Krabs goes to the beach to try and sell it to all the surfers because why not? Almost all of the remaining cash show up so that we can have it nice and marketable for Burger King tie-ins, and then, oh no, Patrick, he goes a little too far out to sea, and then a big wave comes in, smashes him, separates them, and now we got 3 neatly cut subplots. Mr. Krabs and his cash register end up in the Dutchman's Triangle. Sandy fails to make a decent enough plot for me to summarize. That's not me just trying to crack a quick joke. There's really not much of an actual sustainable plot she has other than Desert Island, builds stuff in a bamboo and gets out. And of course, the main plot line, SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward are stranded on a desert island, and they find out from a bunch of college dropouts that the only way they can get out is by surfing. And SpongeBob has forgotten to surf because, actually, when was the last time he surfed in the show? I can't entirely blame the writers for forgetting, considering they didn't really utilize it that much. Of course, they're impossible to teach, so they figure the only one who can teach them is God himself. But Johnny Depp is the next best thing. After some lessons, they eventually find out from Johnny Depp that the only wave that can bring him home is the legendary Big One, which is about to come upon them. We find out about this wave about 3/4 through the special. Okay, you could probably figure out the problems from here. A pretty common complaint with this particular era of the show in terms of specials was a lot of these tended to suffer from pacing issues, either going at breakneck speed or kind of dragging things out a little longer than they needed to be. SpongeBob vs. the Big One kind of feels like an in-between. It drags on certain plot points and details while all of a sudden rushing things at the end. It goes from long, really padded gags to all of a sudden just going at breakneck speed for the ending, shoving in so many plot points and elements. I know I'm a goofball for critiquing SpongeBob, but it's important to have some media literacy in some degree. Weirdly enough, because of that, I actually kind of feel like this would have worked better as an actual 40-minute special compared to the actual 40-minute specials they did. Could have given the special a bit more time to breathe and actually develop on certain things rather than feeling like it has to pad out time for certain places and then all of a sudden rush to the finish line with other elements. Putting aside that and some fun from Johnny Depp, which even then you could argue was just kind of there for marquee value because his character, could put anybody. It's a pretty average special in terms of this period. Putting aside the rushed ending, it's not really the worst or best special ever. It's just kind of there. And I guess that's a bit why a lot of people don't really bring this special up that much. I think a lot of people tend to remember the ones that are pretty good or pretty bad depending on how much they were hyped up and what the final product ended up being. Like the first SpongeBob TV movie, Atlantis Squarepantis, and Truth or Square, the big anniversary movie. Yeah, those weren't good, but to a little Canadian growing up on white TV, promos for those and Who Bob What Pants were amazing. While Big One was one I never really saw until way later, I do actually remember some of the commercials and stuff building up to it. I even remember going to Burger King and seeing that big banner display of all the toys they were selling around the same time the special was coming out. But even looking back, this was a pretty standard SpongeBob special campaign. Commercials they hyped up with certain lines because that would get more people to put their eyes on it.
One of you will not return.
a straight-to-video release before the special came out, some promo shorts on the website, a lead-in marathon, a video game tie-in nobody remembers, mostly standard stuff. Only real difference was a semi-controversial ad campaign for parents in which there was one promo that everyone's seen where it's like, you know, the surfboard's coming out of the hut. I can't really say the punchline because of my channel, but then there was the Burger King commercial in which they decided, you know, it's a great idea for this children's cartoon Happy Meal toys thing we're doing right now. How about a commercial emphasizing body language? Booty is booty. Makes a lot of reporting you on Maine. So you're thinking to yourself, Milan, come on. Why'd you make a whole video about a special barely anyone remembers and you just proved why no one really remembers it? Well, in spite of the average quality of the special, there's a vibe to it, admittedly. SpongeBob's already a pretty good show to watch before the summer starts or before you go on a big, warm trip, because, you know, it's SpongeBob. It's silly, goofy, takes place underwater, has a nice tropical look, but I don't know, something about the way this special is set and themed around, it just radiates a whole other vibe. That beeline for the tree line bit just makes me wish I was at Kalahari right now, just basking in the lazy river, with the waterfalls going around, the sounds of delight of everyone just enjoying a good vacation, and the cool of the pool just relaxing me after a long, busy time at work and with life and school and everything. I guess a lot of it comes down due to the promo style. That rustic surfer look they gave all the promos and promotional materials is just... It's just a nice look to look at, man. I'm pretty glad I got the DVD of it a while back at my local thrift store along with a few other specials. It's nice to have on the shelf, you know? Some of the ups on it aren't even that bad, so I'd recommend picking up if you find it. I know it was recently re-released as part of some collection thing. I don't know if it was like a box set or just kind of a style thing they were trying for a little bit, but I don't know, it just doesn't quite have the same vibes, although it's still got a good vibe to it. SpongeBob vs. the Big One really isn't a special I recommend that much, or even to watch myself whenever I get the chance, but I don't know, sometimes I like to look at the cover or even go through little bits of it and remember the good vibes it brings. There's a certain energy with this dumb little special. But my summer shenanigans are only beginning. There's a few more summer-related things I'd like to talk about for a little bit, so stay tuned for a couple more Ramblings episodes. Until then, I'm gonna go get myself some Baskin Robbins.